Do we have anybody in here yet? Hi, dear. It's gonna be a pretty short live stream if my wife's the only one that comes in. Oh, looks like we got about 6 people. Hello, everyone. Thanks, Ty. I really appreciate it. It's hard sometimes to know if the channel's even doing any good. So it's nice to get some feedback every once in a while that's actually helping people. It's really the only reason why we do it. I mean, with as narrow a focus as this channel's got, you really don't get any compensation from YouTube. Okay, do you have issues with getting or keeping water out of your lines in the summer months? It's giving me fits. No, because we have an air drying system. One of the big things I tell everyone is find out the CFMs on your compressor and jump on Craigslist. You can find air drying systems pretty cheap from shops who have been upgraded to a new compressor. Now their air system doesn't work for it anymore, their air dryer, and they'll just unload them trying to get anything for them. That air dryer takes that hot air, sometimes 200-300 degrees that's in your compressor. When it runs into that system, it immediately, ours drops it down to 35 degrees. So it's ice cold basically before it goes into your system and gets into your lines. So in the past, before we had that, I would go down at the end of the day. Our compressor's kind of in a basement area, and crack open the drains and get half a cup of water out of each drop. Now they're bone dry. I don't even check them anymore. So if you've got an automatic drain on your compressor and an air drying system and a really good desiccant filter, you're not going to have any issues. Till you get those, it's just something you got to deal with and just constantly drain your drops on your lines. Yes, Laura, I've been working all day. We are finally finishing up this commercial contract we've had. There's been a lot of stops and starts, and we just decided to work today and kind of get through it. We've got training tomorrow, so today was a long, hot day here in the Ozarks. It's been very miserable weather. Absolutely, Ty. Bob, I appreciate that. Like I said, we started this channel really just kind of coming up with some videos where we could answer a few like the basic questions, so that didn't quite spend as much time on the phone as I was spending at the time. And the channel really kind of took off from there to, can you do a video on this? How do you do this technique? And it really gave me some direction to, if people want to know this stuff, then there's no reason for us not to share it. So it's been a lot of fun. And sometimes it gets not stressful, but a little time consuming where it'll be Thursday morning and I try to upload every Thursday at noon, and I don't have a video quite edited out and I've got to kind of hump it and get that done, but I don't mind. Let's see. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've got a really big desiccant filter that every 4 or 5 months you dump all the little pellets out, put them in the oven, dry them out. But even that with the air drying system is it really does cut down on all that, and you don't get the little craters in your especially your lighter colors. It seems that's where you get the worst ones. You just don't have those issues. So you guys have the opportunity to ask questions, so hit me with them. Trying to think of something just to talk about. I'm brain dead right now. It frequently is about colors and temps. Yeah, that's a good. Thank you, dear. One of the problems with Cerakote is, their pamphlet says if you're cooking metal, cook it for 300 for an hour or 250 for 2 hours. One of the problems you run into is if you cook some of the lighter colors, white or yellow or pink, if you cook those 300 for an hour, especially if your oven doesn't have a fan, those will actually brown up on you. And if you don't know what's causing that, it can be really frustrating. So In all honesty, we cook everything at just 250 for 2 hours just to be on the safe side. Unless it's something like, black or elite, which has to be cooked at 300, or the micro slick. We just cook everything at 250 for two just to be on the safe side, and you don't have issues. Stenciling and shooting the gun candy over the stencils. No, I've not tried anything like that. The clear coat is really temperamental. If you spray, say you spray the gun candy over that, you're going to have to let that kind of set up a little bit to even get the stencils off without messing it up. And then you spray more clear over that. The problem you're going to have is now that gun candy clear is going to be really heavy and it's going to run. So I've had that actually came up in training, and if you get it to work, let me know how you do it. And I'll do a video on it, but it's gun candy is kind of a one and done. The other thing with gun candy, if you're doing especially tumblers, you want to pull or leave that stencil on, shoot the gun candy over it, let it tack out for 5 or 6 hours, and then pull the stencils off. You don't want to pull that stencil off and then gun candy over the stainless steel or the other color that's below it, because what will happen is that gun candy on that odd color that doesn't really go with it will just end up looking dirty and kind of grainy, gritty looking. So that's another one of those weird things that we found just kind of messing with it over the years. Let's see, what other things have we had come up lately? Another one that we get quite a bit, and it's, I don't want to sound like I'm beating up on Cerakote, but it's like really literally one sentence in their training pamphlet. It basically says, to air cure before you put it in the oven. Well, it's one little sentence in there, and it doesn't talk about how important that is to, spray your item, put it on a rack, and let it air cure for 8 to 10 minutes before you put it in the oven. And the reason why you do that is that 8 to 10 minutes allows your solvent, that kind of watery looking stuff that's in your bottle before you shake it up, that evaporates out. And then now your coating levels down into your etching that you put on the sandblast cabinet. So if you skip that step and you just go straight to the oven, one, you're going to bake your solvent in, and it's going to be kind of shiny, wavy. It's really a weird look, almost, it's almost like a carnival mirror, where it's just really weird looking, shiny in some areas and dull in others. And it's not going to be completely bonded to your surface because it hasn't had a chance to level down. So that air curing is a really, really common mistake. But it's a huge step that you need to take. Let's see. I'd appreciate that. Let me know, how it turns out. Either email me or just hit me up on a message on one of these videos. Thank you, Laura. No, you cannot put the projects in your kitchen oven. And we've gotten that every once in a while. Your problem with that, there's a couple of problems. One, this stuff is a ceramic coating, so whatever off gassing you get is now in your oven. So anything you cook after that is going to be in the food that you're cooking in there later on. The second problem you get is just the reverse. All that food that you've cooked in there, all that fat and grease is now atomized in that air that's in the oven, and that's getting in your coating. So you're going to have issues either way. It's just not a good idea. Buy a smoker that you can put stuff in, or even a like a little toaster oven will work. Until you can get something bigger. Kitchen ovens are really hard to Cerakote with anyway, just because they're it's a weird box that you're trying to fit things in. It's hard to put barrels and things in there. And if it's something smaller than that, you're doing a pistol or frame or a slide or something, a toaster oven is probably going to work better than that anyway. Just, again, get a brand new one. Don't get a used one. Let's see. Bob, you can go a little bit longer. You don't want to go beyond about 25 minutes or 30 minutes. Because then what I've found is the hardener then starts to kind of set up and it gets a little kind of gummy. I don't know that there's a serious problem with that, but it just, to me, doesn't sound like a good idea or something you really want to mess around with. So I've just always kind of stuck to that. As far as that 8 to 10 minutes, no more than 25. If you've got a project that's going longer than that, like an AR with 50 parts, then just split into 2 batches. Spray your first half, start an 8-minute timer, and then just keep spraying. Just separate those 2 batches out. first 8-minute timer goes off, throw that stuff in the oven. And then when you're done spraying the next set another 8-minute timer, cycle them. And then when that all comes out at the end of the 16 minutes or whatever, when that second timer goes off, now you're going to kind of mock the gun up anyway. So now you've got half the parts you had before. So once you get on that cycle, when it's all kind of mocked up, it's all easier to do in one big batch at that point than when you had all these little tiny parts everywhere. So going a little longer is not a huge problem, but you don't want to go too long. Hello, Midwest. Absolutely. Enjoy your dinner, man. Thanks for popping in. Yes, we do. After we do the simple green, we'll generally we've got a big kind of industrial sink in the shop. We'll just run under hot water, get it good and rinsed off. It is, kind of a soapy chemical anyway, so you can kind of feel, that soapiness on there. So just give it a good rinse and then just pop it in the oven for, 15, 20 minutes at, 300 for metal and 180 for, polymer to get it good and dried out. And you can kind of see if you're going to have any issues. And then, if you do, then run it on up to 300 and just bake the crap out of it. And you'll bake any of that oily stuff out. If you do get weeping, which in all honesty, I mean, the only project that I can think of off the top of my head that is going to give you issues almost every time are like Remington 700 type barreled actions because of the grease they use when they torque that barrel in. It's going to weep and weep and weep. You just know that going in. So the best thing to do is degrease it like normal, put it in the oven at 300, get it good and hot for an hour, take it out, set on a rack, and then take your acetone bottle and just hit that area. Your acetone's immediately going to evaporate and kind of vaporize. Just hit it a few times, pop it back in the oven, and just go in and out till you get all of that off of there. Just keep in mind that you're still going to have probably a stain there where that was. So as long as it's not wet, as long as it's just a stain, that'll sandblast off and it won't be an issue. But if it's still wet, then you just want to keep hitting it. It may take 7 or 8 times in and out of the oven to get that completely off there. It's just, that's normal and it happens. But your general, Glock slide or AR, upper or thing like that, they're going to degrease pretty quick and it's just not that big of an issue. Hello, David. Well, you've got to earn your keep there, Laura. So of course I'll make you do it. She sounds like the victim on all this, but believe me, my checkbook is the only true victim in our shop. So ha 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 with all the stuff you've been buying lately. All right, guys, give me some questions. Oh yeah, the Scotch-Brite for prep. You cannot prep with a Scotch-Brite pad or a piece of sandpaper. It has to be sandblasted. And the reason why you can only use those two, the 120 AO or the 100 grit garnet is because you need a specific etch profile, on the surface so that this stuff can bond to it. This is driving me a little nuts not being completely centered. I feel like I'm looking off to the side. Get this straight here. But yeah, that's a pretty common thing we get to is, can you use sandpaper? Can you use Scotch-Brite? That's an internet thing. And yeah, absolutely do not want to do it. It will not bond to it. So thank you again, Laura. Let's see. As in using acetone, a couple projects and do it for myself. Just want to make sure it didn't cause myself unnecessary problems if I switch. No, I was leery. Cerakote said for a couple of years that you could use simple green. And I was pretty leery about changing over because I knew from using it around the shop to clean stuff that it had kind of that soapy residue. Didn't experiment with it. Did a couple of projects and really, had zero issues. And it's about a quarter of the price of acetone. So, obviously we still have acetone for cleaning the spray guns up and for, like I said, the degreasing, the tough degreasing stuff. But that simple green has saved us a ton of money. So absolutely, it was worth moving over to. Sorry. Let's see. It'll be a little bit foggy looking when you swirl it together. You don't ever want to shake clear coat because you'll shake air into it. And then when you spray it, an hour or so later, you'll look and you'll have like, it almost looks like blisters all over it. And that's the air bubbles coming up and then getting hard. When it sits for a while, you'll have like a milky layer at the bottom. That's the additive that makes it matte clear. So that bottle is really just high gloss that has that milky additive in the bottom. So you just lay it on a bench or a countertop or whatever and roll it back and forth for about 5 minutes, and it'll incorporate that milky stuff into it. And that's what it's supposed to look like. And that's what gives you the matte finish. Let's see. Do Vietnam Tiger Stripe, do you completely and the stencil? Man, you must have fat fingers like me. I'm not sure what you're asking. Completely right on the stencil. Oh, random. I'm sorry, man. I am tired. I just do it random. Whatever my base is going to be. Like normally on a Vietnam, it's going to be a sand color, or maybe Desert Verde is one I usually use. It's kind of a favorite of mine. I'll spray the whole thing. Everything needs a base coat, so everything has a 1 mil base coat. And then what I'll do is just randomly pluck pieces off the backing, off the stencil sheet, and just lay them on. But you don't want to put too much, but then you don't want to not put enough where you have too much of one color, not the other. So you just want to kind of visualize what your pattern is going to look like, and then divide that in half so that you know where you're going to kind of put pieces. But there's no real pattern to it. It's just laying it all out. And the other thing that you can do is use some bigger pieces, use some smaller pieces. That way, when you spray your second color on, if you do want to overlap some pieces, it works and it doesn't look odd. And you'll have some bigger pieces and smaller pieces, of that second color. And then when you spray your green, or, I've used brown, I've used black, whatever, for your final color, all that does is give definition to your pieces. So when you peel them, some of them are overlapping, some of them are standalone, and it just ends up coming out really good. Vietnam is probably my personal favorite pattern that, kind of a go-to for mine on personal weapons. I just bought a SOCOM CQB. It's been kind of on my radar, like a dream gun of mine for probably 15 years. And Laura finally rewarded me for all my hard work, I guess. I don't know. She'd probably say something different, but and I got that in. I'm just trying to wait till we get a little bit of time, and I'm gonna do a big project with that, and it'll probably end up being Vietnam Tiger, because I just really love that pattern. Let's see what we got here. We tried tape, but it blew off and bled through. Tried tape for what, Disco? You mean, I'm wondering, are you talking about like tape for a pattern, or I'm just not sure what you were using the tape for? Oh, sorry. Let me scroll up. I start running my mouth and I lose comments. So let me see here. I don't see another comment from you, brother. Let's see. Best Cerakote spray for DIY. I'm assuming you mean which series. I do everything. I do everything with H series. We don't use any other series other than some Elite and the Micro Slick. So we don't use any C series or anything like that. If you're just getting started, I mean, in all honesty, jump into the pool, grab some. What I tell everybody is go to yard sales, grab stuff that's metal. Saw blades are great for practicing on, and practice for a few weeks before you even touch your firearms, because once you step into that stuff and you kind of jump on those, you're kind of committed. So you can sand guns back down and redo them, but the more you do that, the more you're sandblasting it. So, do some just random stuff and, kind of perfect what you're doing and then put it on your gun. Let's see. Oh, the two-tone stippling. Yeah, that's a nightmare, man. It's really hard to do. We tend to do it with the with the laser, which makes it a whole lot easier. But yeah, doing it with tape is an absolute nightmare. I mean, that's your only option is to try and tape it off. But it's one of those, you get lucky and it worked, or you didn't get lucky and you got to start over and do it again. So we generally, if we can't do it with the laser, we generally turn down those projects in the shop. It's honestly not worth the amount of time it would take. If you had to redo it, you would end up losing money in the long run when we could spend that time making money off another project. So you hate for things to come down to money, but we tend to just pass on things like that. Sorry, I'm trying to, juggle your comment there, but I just didn't see where you commented up above. That covering the stippling, it's really hard to do. In all honesty, what you're better off doing is spraying your all over color first, tack that out, get it out of the oven, and then tape off around your stippling and then spray the stippling with whatever the other color is that you wanted. Even if you wanted the stippling to be black, then, spray your frame, blue, tack it out, tape that off, everything, tape off everything except for the stippling, spray it black, and then, tack that out, peel the tape off and bake it. A lot of times, so just reversing the process, instead of taping the stippling off, tape off everything but the stippling and then spray that. So you got a nice smooth surface to put your tape on. Let's see. Does H series need to be baked? Absolutely. It has got to be baked. The H series is the one with the hardener in it, and it doesn't activate until it gets to at least 150 degrees. One thing you will find when you're doing this for a living is if you forget to put hardener in, it will not dry. I don't care how long you put it in the oven. I don't care how long it sits out. I've had a magazine that I leave that way for training that I sprayed H series on that I forgot to put hardener in over a year ago, and it's still sticky. And it's never going to go away. So it's just something we used to just show people. But yeah, H series has got to be baked, or it'll never dry. Let's see. Yeah, Dan, just spray like I said, just spray the whole thing one color and then go back and spray the black. It's kind of counterintuitive because it's already black, but that's generally the easiest way to do that. Let's see. First time gun show, David. If you can afford to do it, buy some screen printed table covers at a minimum with your logo on them. They're a couple of $100, but in our opinion, anyway, from working, I mean, a lot of gun shows, is that a lot of times when you're trying to sell Cerakote or you're trying to sell your service, that's usually it looks a lot more professional than, and we've all seen them, the guy with the camo blanket thrown over, and some guns just kind of laid out. If I get a $2,000-3,000 gun, that's not the guy I'm going to go to do my Cerakote work. But someone who's got a professional table, they've got professional business cards, things like that, some really nice samples there. That's who I'm going to go to. So, we really, our setup has grown and grown and grown. I mean, we generally do 6 to 8 tables now, and, they've all got table covers. We've got really nice displays, cedar that's all inlaid with epoxy and then coated over. So we've got some really nice stuff. We've got a big feather flag, a TV that we have video scrolling on behind us where, if you can't get to everybody right away, you don't want them to just walk off because they get frustrated. They can sit and they have something to watch. So you can go as small as one table. You can get huge. We know people that rent an entire aisle for their booth. So, but our best advice is to, you need to be as professional as you possibly can. And look like a bigger business than you are sometimes. So those table covers and business cards go a long way. Let's see. Dean, yeah, the C series is fairly forgiving. The problem is it's just like anything else. If you don't have your gun set up correctly and you get too close or too far away, it's either going to orange peel or run, or it's going to dry spray. So, getting your gun set correctly before you start spraying is it's the same as H series, C series, Elite, any of them. That's the key to the whole thing of having a nice smooth finish is having the gun set up and then keeping that same distance away from the item that you're spraying. So, that's the big thing is getting it set up correctly. But yeah, other than the durability, I mean, the C series that's the main reason why we don't spray it anymore. Is there's nothing really that we would spray C series on that we're not willing to spray H series and put in the oven. So, red dots and flashlights and scopes and things, we bake those all the time. So there's really not been a need in probably close to 4 years for us to have C series in the shop. So, but if you don't have an oven, then that's your only option. You just have to understand that it's just not going to have the durability that H series does. But, we've got a video on setting the gun up and kind of, spraying techniques and things like that. I would definitely check that out. It goes into a lot more detail than, my tired brain can do right now as far as how to set that up on a, we use a piece of shipping paper on the wall to get that same distance and what you're looking for on your blob, that, how to do all that. So that's a good video to look at. Let's see. Bob, no, Cerakote is not very UV stable. They have the MC 156 157 is kind of the best of both worlds. It does pretty good at UV and it's pretty good durability wise. They have two other series that are really good at durability but are not really good at UV, and then they have one that's really good at UV but it's not very durable. So what we found with Cerakote is it fades after a few months. We did a mailbox and within 6 months it just looked like crap. So we ended up just honestly buying another one that was bigger that we could stuff more packages in and just spray paint, stenciling and spray paint it. So I was pretty disappointed in that. How bad the Cerakote looked pretty quick. Let's see. The scopes, red dots and stuff, there's nothing really special for them. All you do is, the hardest part sometimes is finding a way to hang them. So a lot of times with scopes and red dots and things, there's covers and caps that you can screw off, put a little piece of wire behind it and make a loop and then screw it back on. You obviously want to tape off your ends so you don't, scratch up your glass and things like that. And then you just spray them like normal, air cure them for the 8 to 10 minutes and then put them in the oven at 150 for 2 hours and you're good to go. I mean, there's really not much to it. We've literally baked $20 Walmart Tasco scopes and not had a problem with those. We've baked $30 Chinese red dots. They come on, they work fine. So 150 for 2 hours, I haven't found anything yet that would roach out and wouldn't work anymore. Obviously, if you've got like some foam packing in there or, things that, the rubber O-rings that you can get off, you probably want to take those off. But, just like little weather rings, take those off. But other than that, we haven't had any issues. When a scope itself, like an optic, fails, what happens is the O-rings inside will pop, and then the nitrogen there gets out and it fogs up. I've never had one do that, we've been doing scopes for probably 4+ years, and we've never had one fail. So, and like I said, even on the cheap Walmart ones, we've just never had an issue. So, there's some things with scopes that we generally tell customers as far as, if it's fresh in the box and it's one of the, Vortex or Loophole, then we'll guarantee that. But if it's, some off-brand or it's obviously a scope that's had some miles on it, we'll guarantee the process, but they're going to have to guarantee that, that item. If it doesn't make it through the oven, I'm not going to buy you another $1,000 scope that's, that scope's 40 years old. I'm not going to buy you another one. But you just explain that to the customer and let them make that decision on whether they want you to continue to go through the process. But like I said, we've done some really old scopes and things like that, and never had one fail. Let's see. They're just different colors. And this is one of the things we talk about in training too. When you get into this and you get your FFL and you make a business out of this, one of the first things we tell everybody is whether you come to our training or not, you need to eventually get on the list to go out to the factory, because there are benefits to you for even being just on the list. So as soon as you pay the deposit to go out there, you start getting the certified applicator benefits. One of those is that you get free bottles of coating every time they come out with a new color. So I added it up. It's well over $500 worth of free coating just in the last probably 7 or 8 months. I've more than made back the money I paid to go out and get factory certified just in the free coating and the discounts on equipment and free shipping, things like that. So you really have to look at, especially if you're a smaller shop, you have to really look at not what is Cerakote going to give me, it's what can I take from them. To really be honest about it is, what can I get from them that's going to benefit me versus, what crumbs are they going to throw my way being a smaller shop? Because honestly, there's not going to be very many. Let's see. Other than that, I mean, the new colors, I've used all the multicam colors and stuff. The new metallics, I really love those. And those new fluorescents, I'm crazy about those. I've just ordered big bottles of those because I've been playing with them so much. It's kind of become a toy for me. And I'm actually going to work that into a couple of projects coming up now that I've figured out if you mix them in a certain way, you get kind of neutral, earth tone colors. So let's see, we've been going for about a half an hour. Last 5 minutes, we'll call it 5 more minutes. We'll go to 40. How about that? So if you guys got any questions, let's get them out there. I have a frosty cold beverage calling my name. Let's see. One thing that, just scrolling back through here, with the Elite Series, one of the things that you have to be careful about is that it's completely different than everything else. 18-to-1 is the only ratio you got. It has to be strained through a 325 filter. It has to be sprayed at 30 psi, and you have to bake it at 300 degrees. That's the one kind of outlier on these coatings. It's a great coating. I love it. I wish you could do more with it rather than just single color, but it is an outlier. So you have to really pay attention to all that. Let's see. Ryan, they won't even talk to you about going out there unless you have your FFL. So you have to have that in hand. And from what I understand from people that talk to us about coming to our training is right now they're running about 18 months out, which is about normal. That's about where they were when I went out. And that's because their training is one-on-one. When you go out there, it's you with you with a trainer, and there's one other person with a trainer. So there's 2 of you going through at a time. So at least when I went out, and if they haven't changed it, it's Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. So they do 4 people a week. So that's why they're a little backed up. So there are benefits to going out there and doing that. Kind of a problem that we've always kind of talked to people about, and I hate for it to sound like we're pushing our training is, you can get into this industry, and if you're not putting out a quality product, 18 months is a long time for you to, basically ruin your business and get a bad reputation before you go and get some training and learn how to properly do it. This is not a difficult, product to work with, but there are some things that you absolutely have to do correctly. You absolutely have to stay in your lane. And if you don't, it may look okay, but it's not durable, or it's, like we were saying with the air curing, it's got these weird wavy areas, things like that. So, even if you don't come out to our training, practice and figure some things out. Call me, email me. I don't mind helping people, to work you through some bugs. So, but training, anything you can get, having somebody stand behind you and kind of point things out and help you with things, wherever you can get it is going to help out a lot. Let's see. Absolutely, David. We always offering classes. The whole COVID thing really hasn't been a big deal here in Branson. I mean, you hate to say that, but we really haven't had a lot of cases here, and we've been, I guess, trusting of the people that have come to training to kind of self monitor themselves. Laura's a nurse, so when she's around, she's kind of keeping an eye on everybody. And I don't know, coming out of law enforcement and having been injured and, just all the stuff I've been through in my life, I just, after a while, I kind of get tired of being worried about stuff, I guess. So, I mean, well, if something happens, we'll worry about it then. But, yeah, we're still doing training. We do it every other week, and we're actually getting ready to, once we get some things caught up, we're going to add a third week every month and kind of become a production shop and a training shop. So, we unfortunately won't be taking a lot of the smaller projects anymore, but financially, seems the direction we need to go in. Let's see. Mahi pattern. Well, you send me a picture of I don't even know what it is, but you send me a picture, I'll do it. I can figure anything out. Let's see. Oh, absolutely. Skyline. Yeah, I grew up for a little while in Cincinnati. I know what you're talking about. Let's see. Laura can tell you all about Skyline Chili, driving from here to DC to see her brother and being forced to stop there. Yeah, I kind of figured it was, Eric. I mean, I get it. They're a big company and they're going to do what's best for their company. And, if you're only ordering $1,000 a year, they've only got so much time that they can spend on smaller shops. So you've really got to look out for yourself. And, having said all that, I don't want to sound like I'm beating up on them. Every time I've called out there, every time I've needed help, every time I've talked to the ladies that take their orders, everyone's been super nice. Everybody's been great. I've never had any kind of personal issue. I've never had anybody call me and say, hey, they're mad at you for doing training or, anything like that. I've never had any issues with them. It's just, you've really got to look at, like I said, the size of the businesses versus, your business versus theirs and what they're going to do for you versus what you just need to do for yourself. Let's see. Absolutely, Ryan. Absolutely, David. We'd love to have you. Michael, I'll answer yours and then we're probably going to wrap it up. So I got hurt and had to retire from law enforcement. Did some contracting work, but that was a lot of traveling and was just tired of it. So I got bored and had to have something to do and kind of didn't know anything about Cerakote. Just really kind of did a little bit of research, fell into it, and it has literally grown a lot more than I ever thought it was. I thought I'll do 20 hours a week and, maybe make some money and buy some guns with it and just have fun with it. And it's about a 60-hour a week job that's, a business that's got 4 or 5 different branches to it now. So we're hoping to expand a little bit, hire some more people and, be able to kind of take some of this load off of Laura and I and hopefully, get bigger and be able to have some good news for people and, share some of this with you guys. Let's see. Thank you, David. No, Ryan, I from what I understand, I mean, I don't know what goes on behind closed doors. I mean, I just don't know, but I've never heard one person say that, anybody there was upset with us for doing the training. I mean, and we still tell everyone that comes to our training that they need to eventually go out there because there are benefits to going out there and getting factory certified. So I've never talked to them about it. And I've never had anybody that has gone to our training and then gone out there that said, oh, well, you went out there and went to their training and, dogged us or anything like that. So, let's see. I have no idea on KG, man. I've never sprayed it, never messed with it. I got no info for you. Hey, Brad. All you're going to see is Laura jumping in there yakking at me, but I appreciate you coming on. And with that, I think we will wrap it up. I'm really tired, and I think I'm going to go to bed. We got training in the morning. So thank you, Ryan. And we'll see all you guys. We're going to try and do these every couple of weeks, probably Sunday at 7 o'clock our time. So we'll kind of try and get on a little bit of a schedule with it. But thanks, everybody, for coming, and hope to see you soon. Have a good night.